This is how we had to come in, snake in around 2 toes, come up around this one, come to the end here, and we almost didn't get tied off because the bollards were so low compared to our boat. It was hard for Lisa to grab them. So we made it down to the last one. Kind of tight here on the Cumberland Cheatham Rock.
Exiting the lock on our way to Lake Barkley. Here we come. Actually, we're stopping in Clarksville overnight. That was a pretty good experience, except the ballast was really low and it took several times to catch the loop, but we finally got it. And we're on our way.
Well, our first night we stayed in the Clarksville Marina, as we typically do, because they've got great walking trails and a couple good restaurants right there. But what made this one memorable was as I was getting on the boat, I dropped my wallet right into the water. But thankfully they had a diver that swam right down the next day, and sure enough he found it. So he got a really good tip out of that. And the wallet was in great repair. On our way out of Prizer Point after a really nice stay and walk and swim. Very familiar place, Prizer Point, we're pulling out of today. How many times we've been up to that boathouse? What did you say your name was again? I'm the worst.
I'm James Smith.
All right. Well, how do I forget that? I know a James Smith.
Which alias did he give you? James Smith?
Yeah, I know.
Yesterday was John Smith. So.
Let's see. What about you?
Craig Hudson.
Craig Hudson. There's a father-son group doing it, right?
Well, he's my father. We're that group. He's my dad.
No. Yeah, exactly. The next morning down at the fuel dock, I ran into two guys doing the America's Great Loop on Sea-Doos. They were really nice guys, and they were flying because they were averaging 30 to 35 miles an hour and getting in a lot of days with over 200 miles under their belt. Compared to when we do the same, it's typically about 80 miles in a day. Well, we've gone 57 feet down in the Barkley Lock and Dam. About time for us to head on through toward Illinois, Indiana, and then Kentucky again. After we made it through the lock, we went down the last narrow section of the Cumberland River as it flows into the Ohio River. Then we were greeted with the Smithland Lock and Dam, and then on to Golconda, Illinois, and we set up shop for the night at the Golconda Marina, which was really nice, and it was time for us to take a tour with the dinghy. Well, we got up early and headed out of Golconda on our way toward Evansville. But on that way, the first town we came across was this little village called Cave-In Rock, Illinois. It was named that for a large cave right on the waterway. But the first thing we came across in that town was this ferry that takes your car from Illinois across the river to Kentucky. So the road just ends there at the waterway and the cars load up and off they go, which is probably a lot cheaper than building a big bridge right there. So this cave has a pretty neat history. From the 1790s to the 1870s, it was plagued by what historians called the ancient colony of horse thieves, counterfeiters, and robbers. Because these guys used to hide out in the cave and ambush people, or they would swindle them into going in to look at the cave, and then they wouldn't let them out unless they gave them money. After that, the sun started going down quickly, and we made our way to Dead Man's Island to anchor for the night. Lisa didn't love that name of that, but it was a really nice, calm spot. Highly recommended. The next morning we headed out, and in about 15 miles we came across Evansville, Indiana. And what was interesting there is they have a tour of the USS LST-325, which is a decommissioned tank landing ship from the U.S. Navy. It even landed on the shores of Normandy during World War II.
Inland Marina, just outside of Evansville. We didn't stay there because it's not in good repair. In fact, you can see, looks like they maybe that's a dredger out there. Something's going on, but it doesn't look like we would have been able to get in.
Right after that video was taken, our radio lit up with sirens about bad weather coming our way, severe thunderstorms, damaging winds. So we hightailed it through another lock and up to Cannelton, Indiana, to Rocky Point Marina. And after the storm, we were able to climb to the top of Rocky Point and see the sights. It was a great stay. The next morning we got up early and headed to the little town of Brandenburg, which would be our last stop before Louisville. We'll never forget that stop because in the middle of the night, around midnight, a barge came so close to us and honked his horn that we felt the need to move in the middle of the night. We ended up having a great time in the morning where we were anchored right by the little city, and it ended up being a great time overall.
Okay, this is where we were anchored when we had a really disruptive midnight barge horn. We were over near that big log area, completely out of the channel. This is a very wide channel. Now, two barges did come together, but honestly, I don't think there was any reason for that barge to do what he did. He came within probably 25 feet of us. He claims it was because of that structure back there, but there's no way he would be anywhere near that structure. And this river is so rough wide right here. And we were way over there. I don't see any way that we were impeding them at all. He was being a jerk and playing a game with us, I think. So at midnight, we moved. But we were way over in that calm water area over there.
Later that day, Lisa cut my hair, which is a mistake we'll never make again. We're still finding hair around on the flying bridge. Only 4 hours later, and we were in the McAlpin Lock and Dam in Louisville, Kentucky.
All right. Got us double
So you got it around there?
Yeah.
Can you look up at me so you can affirm that? Okay. So you got it around there twice.
Yeah, got it around there twice.
Okay, and then let's pull it snug. Great job. I'll let him know. And here we are coming out. All of a sudden you start seeing the Louisville cityscape as we come out of the locks. Pretty amazing.
pulling into River Park Marina, looking for C10, where we're going to be staying for the night. And supposedly there's a dock hand named Mike who's supposed to come down and help us tie off. So we're trying to find him.
When the rain stopped, we got to do a little work on the boat, and then it was time to have some family and friends come over and have a little celebration on the bow of the boat, and a great time to catch up with old friends, as I grew up in Louisville. Then the next day, Lisa and I grabbed some scooters and toured the downtown and over the bridge to Jeffersonville, and actually acted like tourists in our old hometown. The next day we were up and at 'em to head towards Madison, Indiana for the night, and then on to Cincinnati. But that's a tale for another day.